What if I told you that for the next 10 minutes, your brain is either going to level up or do exactly what it has always done? And the difference has nothing to do with how smart you are, where you went to school, or how many productivity hacks you've saved on your phone. It has everything to do with how you use your attention in moments just like this. So let's make a deal. For the next few minutes, try something unusual. Don't multitask. Don't scroll while listening. Just be here. Because if you can actually do that, you're already outsmarting most people. You know how everyone says they want to be successful, confident, disciplined, fulfilled. Those are just big, fancy words people use to avoid talking about the tiny, boring habits that actually create those things. We love dramatic life changes, but we underestimate microscopic course corrections. Here's the unglamorous truth. The people you think are naturally smart are usually just better at three things: how they interpret problems, how they use discomfort, and how they manage their attention. That's it. No secret gene. No magic morning routine blessed by a monk on a mountain. Let me show you. Imagine two people stuck in traffic on the way to work. Same cars, same delay, same red lights. Person 1 is gripping the steering wheel like it personally betrayed them. They're cursing every driver, refreshing their maps, imagining the terrible domino effect this will have on their whole day. Their brain is running a disaster simulation. Person 2 is also annoyed. They're human. But after a minute, they exhale. They put on a podcast they've been meaning to listen to. They use the time to think through one problem that's been on their mind. Same traffic. Different story. Now, intelligence tests won't measure that difference. But life does. Over time, person 1's brain gets wired for constant threat and reactivity. Person 2's brain gets wired for flexibility and opportunity. One gets better at feeling trapped. The other gets better at turning moments into mileage. Here's the first mindset shift that quietly outsmarts most people. Stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What can I practice with this?" Not, "What does this say about my worth as a human?" but, "What skill is being trained right now?" Psychologists call this cognitive reappraisal, which is just a fancy way of saying, rewrite the meaning of a situation. Research shows people who do this regularly handle stress better, make clearer decisions, and are less likely to spiral. So when you're nervous before a presentation, instead of, "I'm anxious, something's wrong," your brain learns to say, "Ah, my body's gearing up to help me focus. This is energy I can use." Same heart rate, same sweaty hands, different story, totally different performance. You don't control most of what life throws at you. You control the lesson you choose to practice. Let's talk about another quiet superpower. Using discomfort as information, instead of as a full-body emergency. Most people are trained to think if it feels bad, it must be bad. Boredom, bad. Awkwardness, bad. Confusion, terrible. So they run from those feelings as fast as possible, scrolling, snacking, distracting, quitting. But the people who quietly move ahead treat those feelings like dashboard lights, not explosions. Think of your discomfort as your mind's notification system. Boredom might mean this is too easy. I am under-challenged. Anxiety might mean this matters to me. Confusion might mean you're exactly at the edge of growth. Painful, yes. Dangerous, usually not. There's research for this too. Psychologist Robert Pioch talks about desirable difficulties, challenges that feel a little uncomfortable in the moment, but lead to deeper learning and better long-term performance. Things like testing yourself instead of rereading notes, or wrestling with the problem before seeing the answer. They feel harder, so people avoid them. But that "ugh, this is tough" feeling is actually the sound of your brain building better connections. So when you sit down to learn something, and your brain starts yelling, "This is too hard, we're dumb, abort mission," that's not proof you're not smart. That's a sign you're finally doing something your brain can grow from. Now, here's where you can really separate yourself. Your relationship with not knowing. Most people hate not knowing. They'd rather be confidently wrong than uncertain. You've probably seen this in arguments online. People would rather double down than say, "You might be right. I need to think about that." But look at the people who actually improve over time. They're not the ones who are always right. They're the ones who are always willing to update. Psychologist Carol Dweck calls this a growth mindset. But let's make it less buzzword. Why? A smart mind isn't the one with the most answers. It's the one that treats every belief like a draft, not a final copy. Let's say you've always believed, "I'm just bad with money," or I can't stick to anything, or I'm an anxious person. That feels like a fact. But what if, instead, you treated those as current working theories about yourself, not permanent labels? The moment you say, "This is a story my brain has practiced, not a law of physics," you create space. And in that space, new behavior is actually possible. Here's a small exercise. Next time your brain hits you with a harsh label, "I'm lazy, I'm stupid, I always mess things up," add one word at the end, "Yet, I'm not good at this." Yet. It sounds cheesy. It also gently forces your mind to imagine a future where this isn't permanent. Your brain takes language more literally than you think. Tiny edits matter. Now, let's tackle something that quietly drains the intelligence of millions of people: attention fragmentation. If your brain were a computer, most people are running 40 tabs, 5 video calls, 3 games, and wondering why everything's lagging. It's not that they can't think deeply, it's that they never give any thought long enough oxygen to catch fire. There's a statistic you may have heard. The average person checks their phone hundreds of times per day. Some researchers debate the exact number, but it's a lot, and every time you do, your brain practices being interruptible. You're training yourself to abandon thoughts halfway. Imagine trying to read a book where someone taps you on the shoulder every 15 seconds. You wouldn't say, "I'm bad at reading." You'd say, "Please stop tapping me." But that's how most people live inside their own heads. Constant shoulder taps. To outsmart that, you don't need to throw your phone into the ocean and move into a forest. You just need pockets of time where you practice sustained attention like a muscle. Take 10 minutes a day to do one thing with your full attention. Just 10. Read one page slowly. Think through one problem without music or notifications. Go for a walk without your phone and let your mind wander. It will feel weird at first. Your brain will protest. That's fine. That's the muscle burning. You will be stunned how few people can tolerate even a few minutes of undistracted thought. They'll say they're bored. What they really mean is they're not used to meeting their own mind without a buffer. Let's talk about comparison for a second. Because nothing hijacks intelligence faster than obsessing over other people's highlight reels. You scroll, see someone your age doing something impressive, and instantly your brain turns into a very mean talk show host. Look at them, and look at you. Clearly you're behind. Clearly you're not enough. But here's the thing. Almost no one tells you. Constantly comparing yourself doesn't make you more ambitious. It makes you more anxious. And anxious brains don't think clearly. They just think loudly. If you want to quietly outsmart 90% of people, you have to learn to use comparison as data, not as a weapon. Instead of, "They're better, I'm worse," try, "What specifically are they doing that I admire?" Maybe it's consistency. Maybe it's courage. Maybe it's creativity. Then ask, "What's one tiny version of that I can practice this week, in my own way with my own life?" This shifts the focus back where it belongs. On your lane. Because here's the secret. The game is not who's ahead. The game is, am I a little less avoidant, a little more honest, a little more intentional than I was a year ago? That's progress. It doesn't screenshot well, but it compounds like crazy. And since we're being honest, let's talk about struggle. You might have parts of your life right now that feel messy, confusing, slower than you wanted. Maybe there's something you can't quite figure out. Maybe you failed at the same thing more times than you want to admit. You might look at all that and think, "This proves I'm behind. Other people are just built different." But what if your struggle is not a sign that you're broken, but that you're wrestling with questions most people avoid? What if the very fact that you're still trying, still questioning, still searching, is proof your mind hasn't given up on you? Struggle means you haven't gone numb. That heartbreak that made you rethink who you are, that job that made you realize what you'll never tolerate again, that project you abandoned halfway that still annoys you because you know you're capable of more. These aren't just wounds. They're data points. They're raw material. Outsmarting most people isn't about never struggling. It's about refusing to waste your struggles, mining them for wisdom instead of just memories. So if there's one thing I hope sinks in from these 6 minutes, it's this. Your mind is not a fixed container you're stuck with. It's a living environment you shape, moment by moment, with what you pay attention to, how you interpret events, and what you decide to practice. You don't need a dramatically different life to become dramatically more capable. You need slightly different conversations with yourself, repeated over time. What can I practice with this? Instead of why is this happening to me? This discomfort is information. Instead of this discomfort means I should run. I don't know. Yet, instead of I'm just not that kind of person, I'll give this my full attention. Instead of I'll have focus while I drown in distractions. If you start living even a tiny bit more like that, yes, you will quietly outsmart most people, not because you're better than them, but because you're finally on your own side. So as we wrap up, ask yourself one simple question. What is one small thing you can do differently today that your future self would look back on and say, that was the turning point? That was when I started treating my mind like something worth training. If something in this resonated with you, let it change how you move today, not just how you feel for the next 5 minutes. And if you want more conversations like this about your mind, your habits, and the quiet ways you can reshape your life, stick around, subscribe, and keep training that brain of yours. You're a lot more powerful than you've been led to believe.